Greetings, fellow environmentalists and mindset changers. Timothy Kamuzupiri here from Mizu Eco Care. I thought it's important that we talk about the disaster that took place in Chambishi on the Copperbelt on the 18th of February 2025. 50 million liters of acid effluent was released into the Chambishi River and eventually into the Kafue River, covering an extent downstream of the Kafue River of about 470 kilometers. So that gives you an idea of the extent of the disaster and how massive the impact of this acid actually was. Particularly, I would like us to talk about, the terminologies we use to describe this particular disaster. The common word used is the word pollution. But the word pollution does not quite describe the extent and impact of this disaster. The correct term we're supposed to be using is the term ecocide. However, a lot of people are not willing to use the term ecocide because apparently the word is not common in most of our regulations and environmental laws. However, I feel we should use the term ecocide because this is exactly what this disaster is. So let's start by defining what an ecocide is. An ecocide takes place when there is damage that takes place to the environment or ecosystems caused by the deliberate or negligent action of human beings. You will notice in this particular case, we have 50 million liters of acid released due to negligence by Sino Metals Leach Zambia. So that's the first point. Then you have the impacts of this particular acid that's released. You've got the killing of wildlife. Fish died. A lot of fish was floating in the Chambishi River and in the Kafue River. That's what we could see with our eyes. Then you've got other species that died that we cannot observe, most of them microorganisms. That's a consequence of this particular disaster. Then you've got the impact on the crops and livelihoods of the local community. Then you have the impact on the health of the local communities that live nearby. Those that walked into this acidic effluent and had burns from the acid. Those that had breathing problems because they were breathing the acidic fumes. All those are impacts that make this disaster qualify to be an ecocide. So we need to call it what it is. It's important that we call this disaster an ecocide because we need to set a precedence so that in the future, other potential polluters know what the consequences of being negligent when it comes to how they dispose of waste or store waste. They need to know what the consequences of being negligent will be. So Sino Metals Leach Zambia has to be held accountable. We must also go a step further. The environmental agencies and departments that are responsible for supervising the activities of this mine and other mines must also take responsibility. Because clearly, the supervision was not done the way it was supposed to be done. So they need to be held accountable as well. Most importantly, us as citizens must not forget what happened in Chambishi, how the Chambishi River was polluted, how the Kafue River was polluted, and what the impacts of this pollution or ecocide were. We must talk about it until all those that are responsible for this disaster are held accountable. If we forget this disaster, we'll end up with another Kawe lead poisoning situation, where generations of children have suffered the impacts of the lead poisoning, but nothing has been done. to this day. We must not repeat that mistake with this particular disaster. We must continue to talk and hold all stakeholders that are involved in this accountable. Thank you so much for listening.